For many people in the US and now other countries of the world, it's the Mexican equivalent of the 4th of July. Time to put on a sombrero, eat some tacos, and drink tequila. Now, while tacos and a tequila or two are generally a good idea any day of the year, on May 5th, it's Cinco de Mayo. But what are you really celebrating? Is it Mexican Independence Day? Or is it just a chance to sell some Coronas? Friends, welcome to the Mysteries of Latin America, where we tell the stories about the myths, legends, mysteries, and history of North, Central, South America, and the Caribbean. And today, it's all about history. The history and the origin story of Cinco de Mayo. My name is Andrew Colon, your host. Now, let's get to the, celebration. Cinco de Mayo, which translates to 5th of May in Spanish, commemorates the Mexican Army's victory over the French Empire at the Battle of Puebla in 1862. Despite its historical significance, Cinco de Mayo is not widely celebrated in Mexico outside of the state of Puebla. In fact, it's not a federal holiday in Mexico and is primarily observed in the city of Puebla, with military parades, reenactments of the battle, and other cultural events. The origins of Cinco de Mayo can be traced back to the mid-19th century, when Mexico was facing significant political and financial turmoil. In 1861, Mexican President Benito Juárez declared a temporary moratorium on foreign debt payments, angering European creditors, especially France, Britain, and Spain. In response, France, under the rule of Emperor Napoleon III, invaded Mexico in an attempt to establish a French-friendly government and collect on its debts. As French forces, considered one of the most formidable military powers of the time, descended upon the city of Puebla, they encountered a Mexican army vastly outnumbered and outgunned. Led by General Ignacio Zaragoza, a brave and resourceful leader, the Mexican troops were a diverse mix of indigenous, mestizo, and Zapotec fighters, united by a common cause of defending their homeland against foreign invaders. Despite being outnumbered nearly 2-1, General Zaragoza and his troops were undeterred, drawing strength from their deep-rooted sense of patriotism and the belief that justice and freedom and their homeland were worth fighting for. As the first shots rang out and the clash of steel echoed through the streets of Puebla, the Mexican soldiers unleashed a ferocious assault on the advancing French forces, catching them off guard with their tenacity and resolve. In a stunning display of courage and tactical brilliance, the Mexican army repelled wave after wave of French attacks, inflicting heavy casualties and dealing a decisive blow to Napoleon III's imperial ambitions. Against all odds, the underdog emerged victorious, delivering a resounding message to the world that Mexico would not roll over without a fight. But while the victory was a moral boost for Mexico, it was not a decisive turning point in the war. The French ultimately occupied Mexico City and established a puppet government. But the Battle of Puebla became a symbol of Mexican resistance and patriotism. That said, Emperor Maximilian I of Mexico, installed by the French as the ruler of Mexico, ascended to the throne in 1864. And now, it's time for a detour. This emperor, Maximilian I of Mexico, put into power by Napoleon III, was a member of the Habsburg dynasty. He was born Archduke Ferdinand Maximilian of Austria and was the younger brother of Emperor Franz Joseph I of Austria. The Habsburgs were one of the most influential and powerful royal families in Europe, known for their extensive rule over various territories, including Austria, Spain, and parts of Italy. In Mexico, though, Maximilian's reign faced significant challenges, including resistance from Mexican nationalists led by figures like the previously mentioned former president Benito Juárez. The emperor also had decreasing support from France. He inherited an economic mess, he faced international isolation from Mexico's neighbors, and even desertion and defection from his own French and imperial troops. The French presence in Mexico soon weakened, and the American Civil War came to an end, and the United States increased pressure on France to withdraw its troops. So in 1867, with the French officially withdrawing their support, Emperor Maximilian was captured and executed by forces loyal to Benito Juárez. So, seeing that it was a local holiday in a single Mexican state, how did that translate into a larger celebration outside Mexico, in the U.S.? Cinco de Mayo gained significance in the United States during the 20th century, especially among Mexican-American communities who were facing discrimination and marginalization and were inspired by the broader civil rights movement of the time to become social and politically active. Chicano activists like the United Farm Workers, founded by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, fought for better working conditions and fair wages for farm workers, many of whom were Mexican-American or migrant workers from Mexico. And then there were the Brown Berets, who formed as a response to police brutality and social inequalities faced by Mexican-American communities in Los Angeles and other cities, who organized protests and community patrols to monitor police behavior and protect residents from their harassment. The Chicano civil rights movement embraced the symbols of unity and resilience of the Battle of Cinco de Mayo in Puebla as a way to celebrate Mexican heritage and culture, promote pride and solidarity, and raise awareness of social and political issues affecting Mexican Americans. They did this by organizing events with music, dance, and art exhibitions, along with traditional foods like tacos, tamales, and mole. You can't celebrate a holiday from Puebla without mole. So, how did we go from the Los Angeles community events and Chicano activism to Corona commercials in the 1980s? The transformation of Cinco de Mayo from a community-centered celebration in the 60s and 70s to a broader holiday can be attributed to several factors, including changing demographics, cultural shifts, and of course, dinero. As the Mexican-American population grew and spread across the United States, especially in urban areas, the significance of Cinco de Mayo began to resonate more widely beyond Chicano communities. It became an opportunity for people of different backgrounds to come together and celebrate Mexican culture and heritage. And during the 1980s, there was a growing interest in multiculturalism and diversity in the U.S. Cinco de Mayo became part of a larger trend of embracing ethnic holidays and traditions as a way to celebrate diversity and promote cultural understanding. This broader acceptance of Cinco de Mayo led to increased visibility and popularity of the holiday. This led to the portrayal of Cinco de Mayo in popular media and entertainment to help shape and get ready for its commercialization. Movies, TV shows, advertisements often depicted Cinco de Mayo as Mexican Independence Day, as a festive occasion with parties, music, dancing, and reinforcing its image as a time for celebration and indulgence. But our number one answer on the board, my friends, is money. Recognizing the growing popularity of Cinco de Mayo, businesses and corporations started capitalizing on the holiday as a marketing opportunity. Beer companies, and especially brands like Corona and Sol, saw Cinco de Mayo as a chance to promote their products and boost sales, leading to big advertising campaigns and promotions centered around the holiday and brought it right to the mainstream, making it a huge bar holiday, not unlike St. Patrick's Day. And in areas with large Mexican-American populations like California, Texas, and Arizona, Cinco de Mayo became a major event for the tourism and hospitality industries. Hotels, restaurants, and entertainment venues capitalized on the holiday with special events, parties, and promotions to attract visitors and boost business. Today, Cinco de Mayo is widely celebrated across the United States with parades, parties, festivals, music, dance, and not just from Mexico, but also intertwined with traditions from different Hispanic, Latino, Latinx, or however you want to call it, cultures that have joined in to help it become a tapestry of festivities and cultural exchange. While Cinco de Mayo has become a popular cultural celebration in the U.S., and while it's also important to recognize its historical significance and roots in Mexican history, it's not Mexican Independence Day. That date is September 16th, and we celebrate it here with something called El Grito. The origin story of Cinco de Mayo has less in common with the 4th of July and might have more in common with the story of 300 from Sparta, or other David and Goliath stories, where the underdog came out on top, even if it just was for a little while. Take the W's when you can. The Battle of Puebla was a single skirmish in a larger conflict, but its legacy endures as a symbol of unity, resilience, and the triumph of the Mexican spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. Critics argue that the commercialization of Cinco de Mayo has led to cultural appropriation and a distortion or watering down of its true meaning. While I think that might be true, I also think it's true in the case of holidays like Day of the Dead, St. Patrick's Day, and Christmas. Despite the criticisms, many communities continue to use the holiday as an opportunity to honor Mexican heritage, promote cross-cultural understanding, and to celebrate the contributions of Mexico and Mexican Americans to American society. I think that if it leads people to learn more about a culture that's their own, or especially not their own, and broadens their view of the world and their perspective, I can put up with a drunk tourist here in Cancun shouting, "Happy Cinco de Mayo and Viva Mexico," and I can raise a glass of my own in the memory of those brave fighters who fought and gave their lives for something they believed in. Salud. Friends, I hope you've learned a thing or two, and if you have something you'd like to add about Cinco de Mayo or any episode from the podcast, leave a comment wherever you're listening. And make sure to subscribe, share, and save the podcast so you and the people in your life who are like-minded adventurers never miss a future episode, and you can dive right into the vault of nearly 50 episodes we have for you on the myths, legends, mysteries, and history of North, Central, and South America and the Caribbean. Friends, my name is Andrew Colon, and this is the Mysteries of Latin America podcast. Thank you, gracias, and adios.